What is the difference whether it is a wife or a mother? She's still Eve, the temptress, that we must be aware of, and any woman. I fail to see what use a woman can be to a man if one excludes the function of bearing children. And you can see, you know, McFarland, the great historian, he said, 9 million women, men, and children were murdered in the name of the patriarchal God. That is your history in the church. He hasn't said anything about his statistics, by the way, because he likes to quote misfacts about Islam, and he wants to cover up. I'm talking about current day America and even your history. Tell me your facts if you got them. And this is all in the name of peace, universal love, and so on. Let's have a look at some more. The motto of the French Renaissance, when they rose up against his oppression, was hang the last king with the intestines of the last priest. I wonder what the church were doing to deserve something like that. In 1492, when you expelled 300,000 Jews, where do you think they ran? You think they ran to America? They ran to the Muslims. The Ottoman Empire, they sent ships to rescue them from the carnage that the Christians under Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand were meting out to them, to Turkey, North Africa, Morocco. You don't have any kind of facts whatsoever. You don't have a finger on me, young man, because basically you're living in anarchy. It would be a blessing for this world to eradicate America from the face of the map and to bring the Sharia, I tell you that. And when you talk about children, did you know, for example, in the Vatican, and as they say, do as the Romans when you're in Rome, the age of consent is 12 years old. Did you know that? That is Article 3311 of the Zana Delhi Code, 1889. And obviously, if you have a relationship of dependence with a teacher or someone like that, then it's about 13 or 14. But nevertheless, what did you say? Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, give unto God what is God's. You can't make up your mind what the age of consent is. At least we know, because the divine law tells us exactly what it is. I tell you something, Islam would eradicate all of the problems that you face within society, judicially, economically, socially. And, you know, when you talk about how many people killed, I don't think Hiroshima and Nagasaki were done by the Muslims. And over 100,000 people killed in the first week in 2003 in Iraq. How many hundreds of thousands being killed by the carpet bombing in Afghanistan? I think when you talk about your system is corrupt. You are butchers. You are murderers around the world. You are killing your own citizens and abusing them and raping them more than anyone else is doing around the world. That is not a system for mankind. That is a system which belongs in the trash bin of history. Islam will elevate you. Islam gives the fetus rights, the right of inheritance. For the woman and the man, there were chattels. Islam 1,400 years ago, Islam gave the right of inheritance.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we will allow David Wood for his 5-minute rebuttal as we get closer to our first break. And the clock is set. David, go right ahead, please.
Wow, Anjem again says that Islam will solve all of our problems, and the only evidence I caught was that Islam did really well in Spain about 1,000 years ago. Well, Anjem, I'd like to see how Islam is working out for the world today. He says I have no statistics, and I wasn't going to bring this up, but since he wants some statistics, the Gender Equality and Social Institutions report from the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, that's long, but they did an evaluation of over 100 countries in the world. Here were the criteria. They're looking at women's rights and the difference between men's rights and women's rights, and they came up with a list based on the following criteria: equal opportunities for education and employment, laws to protect women from physical violence, equal rights under the law regarding ownership of property, guardianship right to their own children. So do women get to guard their own children in case of divorce? Son preference, are sons preferred over daughters, equal access to divorce rights, percentage of women married and divorced by age 16. So based on all of these criteria, they put together a list of where women are suffering most in the world, where their rights are protected and where their rights are routinely violated. What they found was that out of the 102 countries evaluated, 11 of the bottom 12, 11 of the worst 12 were Muslim majority countries. Now, is that a coincidence? Is it a coincidence that all of the countries that are at the top of the list, that have the greatest level of equality between men and women, the greatest level of protection for women's rights, are all Western countries, or countries at least far away from the Muslim world? Is it a coincidence that the countries that have the greatest violations of women's rights and the greatest disparity between the level of men and the level of women, the worst of them are Muslim countries? 11 of the bottom 12? That's a correlation. But it's not the only correlation we can look at. Anjem wants some statistics. The 2010 Legatum Prosperity Index. This measures the overall happiness of a country based on things like how satisfied they are with their government, how satisfied they are with the prosperity of the country, their financial situation, how happy they are in their country. Let me give you the top 10 list, the overall happiest countries in the world. Number 1, Norway, then Denmark, Finland, Australia, New Zealand, Sweden, Canada, Switzerland, Netherlands, and the United States. Notice something significant about those top 10. No Muslim countries. Let's keep going, though. Anjem wants some statistics. Number 11, Ireland, then Iceland, United Kingdom, Austria, Germany, Belgium, Singapore, Japan, France, Hong Kong. You're getting out of the West now. You're getting outside of the West, places like Japan and Hong Kong. But what don't you have anywhere on the top 20 list of the happiest countries in the world? No Muslim countries. Let's keep going. Slovenia, Taiwan, Spain, Czech Republic, Italy, Portugal, South Korea, Uruguay, Poland. Finally, at number 30, we have the United Arab Emirates, a country that's more and more starting to copy the ways of the West. So what do we have here? In the top 30, you have one Muslim country in the list of the happiest countries in the world. It's a country that's starting to act like Western countries. You have to go much further down the list in order to get to some real hardcore Muslim countries. So number 70, you have Indonesia. Number 74, Jordan. Number 80, Turkey. 83, Syria. 89, Egypt. 92, Iran. 100, Sudan. 105, Yemen. Part of the heart of the Muslim world there. 109, Pakistan. So Anjem is complaining about how awful it is here in the West, and it's just this horrible, horrible place. And yet the evidence shows otherwise, because people from the Muslim world are doing everything they can to get to the West. They're doing everything they can to get here. They want to be here. Why? Because why? Why, Anjem? I mean, if it's as bad as Anjem is making it out to be, people wouldn't want to come here. But in fact, the entire world, if we open the floodgates, would come here to the West, because even though there are problems, as I admitted from the beginning, we deal with them within our system. And if you take a woman and say, hey, here you are in the West, someone might sell you makeup, as Anjem complained about, someone's going to sell you some makeup there, or something else might happen. Is that as bad as living under Sharia law, where she will be beaten, where men can have sex with her when she's 6 or 7 or 8 years old? Is it anywhere near as bad as what she would face under Sharia law? No. So any problem at all, Anjem can complain about here in the West is nothing, absolutely nothing, compared to what people deal with under Islamic law.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much. And we're about to go to our first break. Thank you, gentlemen. We've gotten through the first third of our debate tonight. So we're going to go to break here, but I will make one little announcement. We will, this coming Tuesday, February 22nd, 8 o'clock to 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, Sheikh Omar Bakri Mohammed joins us on Jihad Exposed. The topic is about Egypt in a post-Mubarak era. We'll also discuss the Muslim Brotherhood as well. And then a week from tonight, on Friday, February 25th at 10 p.m., Dr. Wafa Sultan will join us live here in the studio with political analyst Mahdi Khilhil and Tawfiq Hamid. So stay tuned for those programs, and stay tuned as well as we come back from our break here on Debate Night. We'll be right back after this brief break. Thank you.
Are you a Christian who loves watching ABN shows? Are you eager to make a video and post it online and see it reach millions of Middle Eastern people? Or are you a Muslim who wants an outlet to ask questions, make comments, or post video responses to Christian evangelists and apologists? Well, ABN Tube has it all. ABN Tube is an extended media outlet of ABN TV Ministry. We've gotten an overwhelming response from viewers of ABN to launch a media outlet for people like you to upload your own video responses to some of the clips we have online, whether on abnsat.com or on our ABNsat YouTube account. Our goal is to bring to light any and all lies about false religion through media, to create an open dialogue about religion among people of different faiths, and to gear them to the truth of Jesus Christ. Please visit our site at www.abntube.com. Thank you.
You are watching ABN.
Welcome back to debate night, and we're going to pick right up where we left off. And at this point right now, we've got the clock set for 5 minutes. And Anjem, you can go ahead and start with your second rebuttal. Go right ahead. Thank you.
Yes, I think that David Woods is waking up. He's only got one sheet of paper, and Allah knows how much of that he's fabricated. I gave you so many statistics on the corruption and the degradation of America. Nobody can deny it. And he talks about the way the women are treated. Let me give you a few more. The National Violence Against Women survey said that 25% of women and 8% of men said they were raped or physically assaulted by the current or former spouse, cohabiting partner, or date in their lifetimes. You know what that is? That's about, if there's 200 million, people in America, there's probably more, that is about 8 million men. That is about 80, Mexico stadiums of men being raped by women. Tell me about men being raped by women in Muslim countries. You will never find it. Not only that, they say, he talks about education. Did you know that Fisher, 2000, the National College of Women's Sexual Victimization Study said 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 in college, women suffer complete or attempted rape during their college life. Every 2 minutes, the RAIN, calculation based on National Crime Victimization Service. Every 2 minutes, somewhere in America, someone is sexually assaulted. 1 out of every 6 women in America are victims of an attempted or complete rape. 1998, National Institute for Justice. And, when he talks about lists, let me give you a list. The number of children abused, the number of images downloaded on the internet. 51% America, 14% Russia, 11% Japan, Spain 8%, Thailand 3%. Where's the Muslim countries? I don't think you find them there. And the only reason that we have all of this corruption, by the way, is because you have your own dictators in our countries. You implement your own non-Islamic law, you prop up your own brutal regimes, you bomb us into smithereens, you introduce all of your pornography and all of your cosmetics and fashion industry, you pump them people full of pornography, free of charge, by the way, in Muslim countries. You have to pay for it in America. And then after that, you wonder why there's these crimes emerging. That is because of your own way of life. If we got rid of freedom and democracy, we would not have those problems, and we never had them in our own history. And I can go on about that. Prostitution in America, the US CIA, 2000 study, 50,000 women and children, not 5, not 50, 50,000 trafficked in America for sexual exploitation and forced labor. Somewhere in America, they say a woman is battered, usually by her intimate partner, every 15 seconds. That's a UN study on status of women, year 2000. How many were there in Muslim countries? You tell me. You talk about domestic violence. How come these statistics are conveniently absent? You know very well the more abuse takes place in America than any other country in the world. Because you don't have a system, you have anarchy in America, and there's no comparison. And let me dispel some of the other myths. Under the Sharia, the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ said, whoever oppresses a non-Muslim or does not fulfill his right, he asks for him more than he can give, I will be against him a plaintiff on the day of judgment. Abdullah bin Umar, one of the great companions of the Prophet, he said, the Prophet said, honor me with the people of covenant, the non-Muslims. The jizya, by the way, is much less than the Muslims pay zakat, and it will be not paid if we cannot protect their life and their honor. Hence, for example, in the time of Umar bin Abdul Aziz and many of the great leaders, they paid back the jizya if we cannot defend them. But the Christians used to fight alongside the Muslims against their own Christians from other countries because they saw the beauty and the justice that Islam gave them. And we can go on and on about that. I mean, there's a lot of fabrication, sadly, about Islam. And, I'd like to say a few of the things that we will, in fact, do. In America at the current time, you have an economic crisis. And, America is going to lose the dollar as the reserve currency. And then there's going to be deflation, and you will not be able to afford a loaf of bread, let alone anything more than that. In Islam, they use the gold and silver standard. And there are many states in America going back to that. In Islam, there will be free food, clothing, and shelter, free electricity, gas, and water for all citizens. That is a situation I think every citizen in America, forget the rhetoric, would want. And they would easily ditch tomorrow what they have already with the American regime and indeed any country in Europe. Socially, the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ used to invite the men and the women of Medina to consult them. The suffragettes had to throw themselves under the king's horse. Then you got the vote in about 1918. Even now in America, it's a big thing if you're a woman and you have any kind of position, whereas there used to be judges and people consulted. The Prophet consulted his own wife, Salama, in the highest degree in the Treaty of Hudaybiyah before he consulted any of his companions. And we can go on and on politically. There is no salary, so you have no kind of exploitation that the people have nowadays in the Senate and in the Commons, for example, in Britain. Rather, it's well known that Umar bin al-Khattab, the Khalifa, he used to say, are you stealing the wealth of the Ummah, the wealth of the masses? Give it back to the treasury and let us organize the affairs.